Thank you so much for watching Landumc Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. Looking for Mr. Goodbar is a 1977 American crime drama film that was based on Judith Rosner's best-selling 1975 novel that had the same name. All of this was inspired on the real-life 1973 murder of New York City schoolteacher Roseanne Quinn. The film was written and directed by Robert Brooks, and it stars Diane Keaton, Tuesday Weld, William Atherton, Richard Kiley, and Richard Gere. The storyline goes that as she embarks on her career as a grade 1 teacher of hearing-impaired students, Teresa Dunn is affected by several aspects of her life. Her repressed Catholic upbringing, having body image issues from a scar on her lower back from surgery, dealing with scoliosis, and recently coming out of an affair that she was having with a very self-absorbed English professor. The Catholicism affected her and her two sisters in different ways, with Bridget being the poster child, and Catherine openly rebelling against it through several marriages, all of them open, with drug use and abortions involved. In order to get out of the repression, Teresa decides to move out on her own, living in one of the empty units in an apartment building owned by Catherine's current husband. While she is caring and compassionate in her professional life, Teresa begins to be reckless in her personal life, prowling the singles bars at night looking for sexual validation, which is easy to find in the many one-night stands that she has. Among those sexual encounters, she begins a casual relationship of sorts with Tony, who's hyperactive and volatile, and a very unpredictable young man. He basically shows up at her doorstep when there's no one else to be with. Their encounters become increasingly edgy, bordering on violent, which nonetheless piques her sexual interest. She also begins a casual, non-sexual relationship of sorts with James, the welfare caseworker of one of her students' families. Through it all, Teresa has to deal with the consequences of the lifestyle that she has chosen for herself. The production is based on the real-life murder of Roseanne Quinn. Just as in the movie, she was a New York City school teacher. After moving to New York City, she taught for 3 years in Newark, New Jersey. In September of 1969, she began teaching at St. Joseph's School of the Deaf, where she taught a class of 8 8-year-olds. She voluntarily stayed after school to help the children, and the students absolutely loved her. By May of 1972, she had moved into a studio apartment on West 72nd Street in Manhattan. She would often patronize bars where she would sit by herself and read. Her friends were rather diverse. She knew teachers, artists, and just a whole slew of people. She would often meet people by striking up conversations with them by reading their lips, all the way across a crowded bar. On the evening of New Year's Eve, 1973, she went across the street from her apartment to a bar named Tweed's, where she met John Wayne Wilson. Wilson and Quinn went to her studio apartment where they smoked marijuana and attempted to have a physical relationship. But Wilson couldn't perform. He claimed later on that Quinn had insulted him, and she eventually demanded that he leave her apartment, as an argument ensued. After a struggle, Wilson picked up a knife and, according to a police statement, stabbed Quinn 18 times. The director, Richard Brooks, interviewed around 600 women who had read the film's source novel, which in itself had become a bestseller. Brooks used these meetings for insight and feedback in preparation for the film. This is one of the first theatrical films for actors Richard Gere and Tom Berenger. The movie was Gere's first stud role, something which would become a trademark of his early career, with movies like Breathless and American Gigolo. Tom Berenger later admitted in interviews that he had nightmares after he had finished shooting all of his scenes as Gere. In order to maintain artistic control over the production and creative freedom, the director took the minimum scale director's fee plus a percentage for directing the project. This movie was filmed and released the same year as Diane Keaton's Oscar-winning role in Annie Hall. Although she was not an Oscar contender for Goodbar, many people in the industry believed the acting range that she displayed by making two such diametrically different films in a single year did play a part in the Academy members giving her their 1977 Best Actress Award. And she is amazing in this movie. Just a sheer joy to watch. I had forgotten how good of an actress she was. Of course, we remember her from the classic film The Godfather. And there's a little Easter egg dropped into this film about that film. When Teresa meets Tony in the bar, she's reading The Godfather, and Tony comments to her that he's seen the movie. Keaton had played the part of Kay in the original Godfather from 1972. Diane Keaton's contract explicitly prohibited the manufacture of any production photograph stills from any sexually suggestive frames from the film's print. She was pretty picky about this. As a matter of fact, for the sex scenes, she was terribly shy. Richard Brooks closed the set to all but essential crew, and she still had difficulty the very first time that she was required to take her clothes off. One day during lunch, she heard the director playing a Bach record as he ate. She asked him could they play that music any time that they were shooting one of her erotic scenes. They tried it, and this worked for her. She does a lot of scenes without her clothes on in the production, and during all of these times when it was shot, that music was playing to relax her. She couldn't play or act to a man, but Bach sure did please her. Go back and take a look at this classic film from 1977. This is really a good movie, and the ending scene is probably up there with Alfred Hitchcock's shower scene from Psycho. This is well done, and I think you'll enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.